The Co-Cathedral of St. John the Baptist is the spiritual heart of Valletta, a sacred masterpiece born out of conflict and built in thanksgiving. It stands as a lasting witness to courage, sacrifice, and unshakable faith. The story behind this remarkable cathedral begins in Jerusalem. In 11th century, the Knights of the Order of St. John were founded to care for the poor and the sick in the name of Christ. But when Christian strongholds in the Holy Land fell, the Knights became defenders as well as healers. They were driven from Jerusalem and later from Rhodes in 1522. But in 1530, they found a new home, the rocky remote island of Malta, granted to them by Emperor Charles V. This island would become their fortress and the altar of their greatest sacrifice. Deeply committed to defending Christian Europe, Charles played a crucial role in the struggle against expanding powers of the time. For decades, the Ottoman Empire had been expanding across land and sea, but Malta stood in their path. From their base on the island, the Knights launched attacks on enemy ships and disrupted important sea routes. In 1564, they captured a valuable vessel bound for Venice, an act that provoked a full-scale invasion. On May 18, 1565, nearly 200 Ottoman ships carrying around 40,000 troops arrived at Malta's shore. The Knights had only 700 men, supported by a few thousand Maltese defenders. Yet, their strength came not from numbers, but from faith. Leading them was Grand Master Jean de la Vallette. Though in his 70s, he remained steadfast. He fortified the island and called his people to pray. Every wall strengthened, every chapel prayed in, became preparation for a battle both physical and spiritual. The siege that followed lasted 4 long and brutal months. Every fortress, every path, every inch of the island was fought over with blood, fire, and courage. This was more than a clash of armies. It was a defense of Christian heritage. Despite hunger, sickness, and overwhelming odds, the defenders held their ground. And finally, on September 8, 1565, the invaders withdrew. Malta was saved on the very day celebrated as the Feast of the Nativity of Mary, her birthday. It was a powerful victory for Christianity. In gratitude to God, the Knights vowed to build a cathedral, a symbol of thanks and worship. In 1572, construction began on the Co-Cathedral of St. John, designed by Maltese architect Girolamo. The marble floor of the cathedral is made up of the tombs of fallen knights, each a tribute to sacrifice. The golden ceiling, painted with scenes of glory, lifts the eyes toward heaven. And at the heart of it all hangs Caravaggio's masterpiece, the beheading of St. John the Baptist, a powerful image of martyrdom and truth.
This is St. John's Co-Cathedral, a very iconic church in the island of Malta. It has a rich history. When the island was under siege by Ottoman Empire, there were around 6,000 foot soldiers who resisted them, and they won victory. What a great, marvelous history. And the leader of those 6,000 foot soldiers, he ordered to build this church, and it was dedicated to St. John the Baptist. And inside this church, you can see an iconography of St. John being beheaded. We have that story in the Bible. So, what a privilege. We are standing in front of this iconic church.
Today, the Co-Cathedral is more than a historic site. It's a living place of worship, a sacred space welcoming pilgrims and visitors from around the world. The legacy of knights lives on, their faith, devotion, and the silent strength of a church that still proclaims Christ. In the heart of Malta, this cathedral stands as a testimony to a people who dared to believe, who stood firm, prayed deeply, and trusted God when all seemed lost.